Two up, two down.
And now, another exciting episode of Two Up and Two Down. I'm Jack Barry.
You know, it's funny you said that. I'm Jack Barry. I'm Jack Barry.
I'm Jack Barry. I'm
Jack Barry. You've already got a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And what I'm about to bring in, it's just going to open your brain up to 100 things more because we've talked about this so many doggone times.
How exciting. I'm ready. Take your time.
We don't watch a lot of live television unless sports are on. That's really about the, and even then, it's very rare in our home. And so that's,
and even then, I disdain the fact that I'm at the mercy of the programmers because I don't ever want to be. I would even be willing to put off, say, if there's a very important NBA game that I needed to see, I'd be willing to put it off 45 minutes so that I could be in control.
Of course. Yeah. So you're not in control. And the thing you're not in control of the most, and this is especially impactful because we'll have small children who might be in the room, it's the commercials.
I haven't thought of this before, but that is quite an observation.
Let me convince you.
Okay.
My down is, and here we go. You ready? I'm opening up Pandora's box.
I'll just say,
are
your children at an age, because I remember my kids being at this age, where they really loved the commercials, really looking forward to them?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Go
on.
Oh,
gosh, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
They're little vignettes. They're and that are supposed to have a joke, but don't really.
Yeah.
They love them.
Doug and the emu. My girls are singing it always.
Yeah. He makes me laugh. Well, see now you're undercutting my point here.
All right, let's go.
It's the lack of jingles in commercials nowadays. I knew it, ladies and gentlemen.
You've hit a home run with this down, Jeff. And there it goes. An absolute home run.
But I pointed it out before I hit it, didn't I?
Yes, you did. You're like,
put the sick kid in the hospital.
Good for you.
So you and I have talked about this many times. What in the world? We know in our brains, large file cabinets full of not only the melodies of jingles, but the lyrics.
Yes.
And I would think if there's a marketer or a commercial guy from the 80s, he's going, I did my work so well.
Yeah.
Who today isn't going, gosh, I sure would like my product's name and some description of it in the minds of viewers. Not only that, but in the mouths of children who will walk around singing it all day for mom and dad to hear.
What I'm going to say right now is I want to expand the category to not only jingles, but also
I know where you're going.
TV theme shows that set up the entire premise of the sitcom in the song.
How genius was that? They instead of relaying this foundation every week, we got it. It's in the song.
No, you heard it. First 30 seconds. You know what we're here. Couple of silver spoons. Hoping to find we're two of a kind. We got it. Together we're going to find our way. Silver spoons. We got it.
The world's not going to move to the beat of this guy's drum.
No. Nell Carter. Give me a break. I sure deserve it. She's saying.
That's right.
She's telling. We get it. We understand her scene in the opening.
And a lot of the times in the early seasons, the montage behind the song would sort of show bits from the pilot, and you go, "God, that's what we're dealing." That's how the horse got to be the mayor of the town.
That's right. So I sing jingles around the house. My children are bemused and in admiration of the jingles that they hear. And then I have had the very conversation we're having right now, I have had with my 10-year-old within the last month, which is, Dad, why aren't there more jingles? Because I in their formative years, I would sing, Hershey is real milk chocolate. I love that Hershey bar. I'm going to go on. Hershey is, that's a something special no matter where you are. The Italian restaurant guy.
Sure.
Anytime you want delicious chocolate, there's no need to go looking very far. Kid, 9-year-old at a baseball game. Hershey's great, 'cause Hershey is the great American chocolate bar. So that's it. So in my girls' formative years, I'm singing these songs. They'll go like, where can I see that commercial? We're going on the YouTube where you're watching this show right now. Go on the YouTube. We will watch. I'll link to it right now. The Hershey's American Chocolate Bar theme song. Then they grow to love them. Then this becomes one of the bits that they want. They want to see the Tootsie Roll, the owl with the biting the Tootsie Pop. They want these songs. Whatever it is, I think I see becomes a Tootsie Roll to me. They love it.
They want to meet this hallucinogenic child who can't not see odd flavored candy wherever he goes.
So the jingles, they're part of the culture of my home and the lore that if I were to keel over today, people would think that guy, he loved jingles. He did love jingles. He would always sing the chock full of nuts jingle, although I don't think he's old enough to have even seen that on TV.
I think I had a tape. It was TV's greatest theme songs, but I think interspersed in there were old commercials that I was too young to have ever seen. But there was, once upon a time, there was an engineer. Choo Choo Charlie was his name, I hear. He had an engine, and it sure was fun. Eating good and plenty's while he's on the run. Charlie says, love my good and plenty. Charlie says, really rings my bell. Charlie says, love my good and plenty. Don't know any other candy that I love so well. Hot jam. I mean, I tried to convince my wife to walk down the aisle to that song.
Surely they're on their way to death, right? Like they're going to go the way of the Necco Wafer, right?
I always think that about where they go the way of is Rocket Fizz, because like that's the home of the museum of old candy is Rocket Fizz. But no, like at my Safeway, I'll go down the candy aisle sometimes and go, really? There's somebody out there who's still the order guy. They can't change the form,
right?
And so Good and Plenty still shows up. The circus peanuts, they still show up.
Similarly, we're just cruising. We're just crushing a whole list here as we keep going. But I personally enjoy a candy bar, which you find in not all but many convenience stores. I've never seen a person consuming one, purchasing one. I've never seen an empty wrapper. It's the Whatchamacallit bar. I
you
like
and me,
it, but
you
who
and
buys
me.
it?
I used to. Okay, so when I was a production assistant on a TV show, and I living in Tennessee, lunch. Forgive me, I was an unhealthy college student. Lunch was typically
things at lunch.
A Dr. Pepper and a Whatchamacallit and a bag of chips, because I thought that kind of hit for the cycle.
Did you grow up in the inner city? How'd you come up with that?
I don't know. I'd take my teeth out and then eat them and then put them back in. But I love a Whatchamacallit. It has just that thin layer of caramel in it.
Yes.
It's a dandy.
Produce a little bit of a stretch there. George Costanza likes to tell us how much he enjoys the cookie crunch of the Twix bar.
Mm-hmm.
And it also gives you the pop sensation and the pull sensation. And you get a bit of a crunch and pull with the Whatchamacallit.
Yeah, you're right.
Anyhow, we've strayed from your topic of jingles. And I couldn't agree more, Jeff. What happens these days is they try to create cool graphics. So they go find the nerd in motion graphics that works for Chevrolet. They go, what can you do to we've got some stock footage of shooting this truck going over large rocks and driving through the snow.
And pulling a plane.
Can you do something bizarre with computer graphics? And we promise that we will spend the most money we can to buy the most recent pop song that has nothing to do with trucks. But we think it'll make people like our ads. And
borrowed equity.
It's disgusting. I'm sickened by the lack of creativity from today's ad people. Do you think Tom Hanks in his Bosom Buddy days would have just mailed it in like that on an ad campaign?
No, Buffy nor Hildegard would have either.
Neither one of them. There was a time when I was a child going to Astros games in the world's eighth wonder, the Astrodome, where it was baseball, hot dogs, apple pie, and Chevrolet.
Ooh.
See, these are American staples. These are things that we believe in. And Chevrolet, no more. Now it's a rock song and computer graphics.
So two last things buttoning this up. One, the best we have as far as a jingle in 2022.
Boy, that's
America,
a great question.
is this. You ready for it? Here it is. This is the best they can come up with it. Liberty, liberty, liberty. That's the best they could do. You've heard this, right?
Yes,
that's
I have.
Their jingle. My other point is this. Wasn't it, you brought up Bosom Buddies. Wasn't that, as a kid watching TV, the apex of a cool job on a show was ad agency guy making ads? Every
100%.
kid went, that's okay. You can either be Mr. Businessman carrying a suitcase, not for me.
No thanks.
Or you could be an ad man. You wanted to be the ad man. Drawing on a desk that was slanted up, drawing cool things, coming up with ideas.
To this day, I want a big desk that's at about 8 degrees. To this day. Exciting.
I had one in high school. It was a drafting table, and I was just telling my wife the other day, if I didn't have a computer on my desk, I would get one of those because it's called a drafting table, and I did all my homework at a drafting table for 4 years.
One of the things that makes me angry watching television when I must watch the television, and they've got, who's the guy that played the headmaster on Rushmore?
Brian Cox.
They've got Brian Cox doing McDonald's ads going, ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
I heard that.
That da-da-da-da-da, that 5-note jingle for McDonald's makes me so mad for what we're talking about. Because, okay, it's memorable. Now make a song out of it.
Right, yes.
They used to do da-da-da. There was a like a
Do
story.
all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun.
Sure. It's about the stress of your life. Da, da, da. You deserve a break today at McDonald's.
Yeah.
We'll do it all for you. And it's stressed out mom with those dirty, stupid kids in the back and their soccer balls. And is she relieved to be able to drive through. It tells a beautiful story. No mom.
Now you got 5 notes.
All right, yeah, 5 notes with an old 65-year-old man. It's almost like he says them sarcastically. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Like, yeah, like
you can hear the quote marks around.
Anyhow, okay. Was that a sad? Oh, that was a sad. Okay,
That was a sad. That was a downer. Jingle. No jingle.
One thing I love about the show, one of my favorite shows, 2 Up, 2 Down,
2 up,
is that
2 down.
Things can be completely random and obscure, and that sometimes makes it better.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay, so my down is going to be, there is a particular athlete who's very famous, very well known.
Mickey Mantle.
You got it. It has to do with Michael Jordan, what I'm going to say.
Michael Jordan, sure.
And my down is, I don't enjoy Michael Jordan's syntax oftentimes when we hear him speaking. Okay?
Okay, wait, hang on. Listeners and viewers, just get ready. Because this is the kind, you come for the big stuff.
Yeah. Oh, Corey, the big headline, the big splash.
Jingle. And you're like, of
That's
course.
what'll be in the news tomorrow.
I've been thinking that too. I've been also. Steven's about to bring us something that is so narrow, but you're going to hear it and go, all right, I think I'm down.
It's true. Okay. I'm not the first person to make the observation that Michael Jordan, who I can't judge him for the amount of arrogance that is contained in his body. Okay. I don't know what his life has been like. It's been a very strange life. Okay. He made billions of dollars for shooting a basketball. I'm not the first one to recognize that he often refers to himself in the third person while he's giving an interview about himself. He'll be asked a direct question about himself, and he will say, Michael Jordan would never play lazily in the fourth quarter. He would say,
Jordan would never play lazily in the first quarter.
Michael, he wouldn't construct a sentence the way that I just did, by the way. So I'm sorry about that. That's not a good example.
You punched up how he would have said it.
Yes, I did. I edited him. I added my imaginary Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
He would say Michael Jordan wanted to prove that he had a business mind as well, much like Dr. J did. That's something that he has said. I don't enjoy that syntax. There's nothing that makes him seem more removed from a normal human being than referring to this thing that he's been trying to create for the last 40 years as another entity besides the person speaking, first person. Okay, that's one thing under the
Jimmy legs,
under the heading of Michael Jordan syntax. The other one is, if you just listen, viewer, if you will just keep your eyes peeled, you'll notice this for the rest of your life when Michael Jordan crosses your monitor. Michael Jordan will not talk about, well, there's popular sports in America, football, basketball, baseball, hockey. He cannot speak of his sport in a noun with one word like that. Michael Jordan only says this phrase, the game of basketball. This is
the holy revered game of basketball.
He must say it this way. He must say, well, the way that Michael Jordan addresses the game of basketball, I could see the people practice this way and this way. But when I was playing the game of basketball, before I retired from the game of basketball, this and this, well, my concern is the way he addresses the game of basketball, et cetera, et cetera. Last night, I was watching the game of basketball, whatever. I mean,
maybe he's trying to distinguish between the game of basketball and the movie of basketball he'd watched recently.
He's talking about the board game. Oh,
the whole game of basketball. That one, the little white shadow one everybody had with the ping pong ball and it shot the thing.
Yes, that's the game of. Oh, he must be promoting that thing. Anyhow, I find that annoying for similar reasons because it draws a little verbal halo around his particular game where you put the ball into the metal ring as opposed to that other nonsense game where you take a ball and you push it down a field. That's nonsense. This is the game of basketball.
You think when he was on the court, he would tell like Pippen, pass me the ball of the game of basketball?
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to shoot it in the basket of basketball.
Yeah, of the game of basketball. Yes.
He's an odd duck. I think we can all agree. And so, quick detour. One time you and I happened upon Michael Jordan air camp, what they call it, flight camp.
Yeah.
Where he was teaching a bunch of...
This must be part of this show, is that every time we can drop a story where we have a brush with fame, we must do it.
All right, great. You and I were driving from Los Angeles, eventually up to the Salinas for the John Steinbeck Museum. We stopped in Santa Barbara to eat a burrito, get some ice cream. We asked some policemen.
Hold on.
Yeah,
just any burrito? Was that the goal?
No, it was the Freebirds burrito. At the time, the only Freebirds outside the state of Texas.
The Freebirds, Backward R burrito. I think there were 3 locations nationwide. One was in, the reason I knew about it, College Station, Texas. And that there was we found out there was a connection somehow between, did you say it was Long Beach?
Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara. There was some connection between this person had moved from Santa Barbara to College Station or vice versa. And I just thought it was amazing. We got to visit Freebirds World Burrito, which is a burrito place that's headquartered in and around Texas. And I assume it's expanding to this day.
Oh, yeah, it's everywhere.
We got to visit.
So we wanted to play some pickup basketball, and we asked the policeman, he said, you could go to the University of California, Santa Barbara. You remember the team?
UCSB Banana Slugs?
Close. Gauchos.
Gauchos.
It was the Gauchos. Banana Slugs are Santa Cruz.
That is a great mascot, a
I
gaucho.
agree. So, but he said they may be doing a camp over there. We're not sure. So we went over there and realized, oh, we can't get into this gym. There's tons of people. I don't remember what made us keep going, but we went in.
Me.
So we went in there and we saw down on the court these little tubby, middle school kids at basketball camp. And there's Michael Jordan. There's Charles Barkley. But so we're just sitting there. Oh my word. We're seeing the Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Or as Michael Jordan would call him, Michael Jordan.
Right.
And he was not only reffing games, it was time to close it down, and the kids had come and they were staying there on campus. I remember Michael Jordan is giving the camp rules to the kids. Even at like church camps we went to, the youth guy didn't do that. It was like his underling's underling would run.
Sure.
Jordan's going, I found somebody's room key. Whose is it? Some tubby kid waits. It's mine. All right, give me some push-ups. So he starts give Michael Jordan some push-ups.
I'll be there.
So he doing push-ups. He's telling the kids, you got to be up at 10. You got to get your rooms clean. He's given all of these, all the rules. It was crazy. So then we look at each other and go, I bet we can go meet these guys if we just go find their cars.
Yeah.
So we walk around and around the building, finally find this isolated parking lot that had these sweet hoopties in it.
Uh-huh.
And we go and wait by the door. And we're waiting. And then the guys come out. And it's this door where nobody knows that they're going to come out of. So it's just us standing there. And I remember we startled them.
We're sitting on the hood of your Honda Passport.
Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
So the guys come out and we're like, I don't remember what we said. Hey. And I mean, they jumped.
Yeah.
And I felt bad because if I remember correctly, not long before this, Michael Jordan's father had died in some sort of like weird. And I thought, oh my gosh, we just PTSD'd the Michael Jordan. And it was him and Charles Barkley. And they just looked at us like we were two squirrels. And then kept walking.
I think we yelled out something encouraging. You're the best. You're the greatest. Something like that.
Real good at the rules. Way to elucidate what's expected and not expected of those young children as they learn the game of basketball. And he stopped and he came over. He's like, guys, I really appreciate that. It was hard in there. And that's just the kind of encouragement I need. I don't always get the positive feedback sometimes, so I appreciate that. I'm going to do a quick up. And again, I'm hitting something that I think you're in simpatico with me on this.
Okay.
Your local library.
Oh.
The local library.
The local library is the best use of my government funds. I've been to the tiniest libraries of the tiniest towns of Texas, and every time I think, well, this is an oasis.
So there's a phrase called third place, and it's sociologist Ray Oldenburg said there's places where people spend their time first.
Hold on a second. Did you just do research for 2 hours?
I did.
Two
I'm reading
up.
off the thing.
Two down.
Home is your first place. Usually back in the days before COVID was second place. And then third place was this other location where you would go. It was comfortable to you. Starbucks is often referred to as someone's third place.
The pub in England.
Right, sure.
You stop by on your way home from work.
The Water Buffalo Club with Fred and Barney.
Yeah.
Which I'm with you, Fred.
Yeah.
So
nobody gets that either.
I don't care. The library is such my wife and daughter just got home from the library. I just heard them come in.
Wonderful.
So you go to the library, you can reserve rooms and go do work from there. I do this all the time. It's a clean, well-lighted place.
I have done I've done little Bible study groups that I reserved a room in the library. I saw the last time I was in your library just a couple of weeks ago. There was an immigrant Indian family who had reserved a room for a birthday party.
You can do an English as a second language class. They offer classes.
Yep.
And when I got a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old.
You can learn a hobby. You can learn how to identify trees.
You can do the Dewey Decimal System. So my 9 and 7-year-old, we go to the library and I'm like Daddy Warbucks. Daddy, can we get this book and this book? anything you want, girls. Load the bag. The last time I was there, I asked the librarian, I said, what's the limit on books? And she goes, 200 is just, please, girls, get anything you want.
You could open your own library with 200
You could
books.
sublease books.
Good. Maybe you could rent out one of their rooms, hang a sign over the door, Jeff's library, and you're like, I specifically chose the books in this room. There's not a clunker in the lot, and they're each $1.
This is a Tom Green move.
Or Nathan for you.
Nathan for you. Now, let's say there's 20 copies of the hot new John Grisham book.
Yeah.
The Dirty Judge.
The Dirty Judge.
The Dirty Judge. So they'll get 50 copies of it, but they'll reserve 10 for what's called Lucky Day. It's going on the shelf. Nobody can reserve that book.
Oh, you just have to frequent the library.
Got to show up.
Foot traffic. When you find yourself, okay, for instance, I have an upcoming trip to Texas. I only have a couple of things to do on this trip. I will have dead time on my hands. You know what you should do with that time when you're at a foreign place and you don't know what's going on? You should go to the library. You should go to the local library, and you will find a little window into that town or municipality that you have entered. You'll get a little local flavor. You'll find something that interests you. I recommend this. I recommend the library. We were there the last time I was at your house. Did I already say this?
Briefly.
The last time I was at your house, I found it to be a wonderland. You live in a well-heeled county with a glorious library. I half expected a slide to be coming out of the outside of it. And it was fantastic. There was families all there. There was a beautiful veranda a reading veranda. They should call it a reading veranda.
Real quick, what Stephen did was he got a choose your own adventure book and read it out loud to me and my daughters and his daughters. It was fab.
And I'll never be able to use this tale again. I'll tell it here. I chose a book that was a historical, it was supposed to set in the 1910s or something. The cities that were featured in this story were Cincinnati and Denver. I live in Cincinnati. Jeff lives in Denver. My mouth was agog. Could I say my mouth was agog? I was agog.
You were agog. Your mouth was ajar.
And it was amazing. And there was frozen shards of ice, which we could throw full speed into the brick wall of the public library. No damage done, but a lot of fun.
Sturdy.
And that's something else that the library offers you is a nice, sturdy building. They also had a beautiful fireplace in there. There were 2 floors of wonder. Anyways, the library. I've said enough.
You've paid for it. You might as well use it.
For me, this is the centerpiece of the whole day. I've been waiting to tell you about this for some time.
I need to have a direction in my mind.
This is about to be way, way up for me.
Good night. All right, good.
I'm going so far up. You know about my recent dalliance into the audiobook called Waiting for... What's her name? Waiting for Mrs. Goldblatt. Something along those lines.
I do not know that.
You do.
Okay. All right.
Because this was the book where Lyle Lovett was featured.
Oh, yeah. Got it. Sorry.
And it was a story about a woman who had sort of idolized Lyle Lovett, and then she got to meet him, and he graciously gave live voice to her retelling of the whole thing. So I listened to it to hear him talk about their quirky relationship. And for that point, it was interesting, and otherwise it wasn't. Now,
are you trying to draw us into a Lyle Lovett impersonation off?
No.
All right. Guns down.
No, that's right. Guns down. I'm trying to set up the fact that I'm finding more enjoyment in the audiobook than I have in the past. Now,
as a thing, as a general idea,
audiobook. Yeah, as an idea.
Oh.
Yeah, audiobook. There are audiobooks. I wasn't aware of this. There are audiobooks that are really just long form recordings where nothing has ever been written down. You can't get a physical book. It's just a chronologue of somebody's
Break shot.
What?
Break shot. The James Taylor one.
Oh, that's a great example. That's a wonderful reference for where we're going. I think it's because back in the day, I had subscribed to Malcolm Gladwell's Revisionist History podcast, which I soon tired of.
Revisionist history.
Yes. I don't know about you. This could be one of my downs. I might return to this someday.
I could go down on where you're headed. Trust me, I'm there.
But if you listen to a podcast on an iPhone, that podcast is going to be haunting you on that iPhone for the next 10 years. There's no way to get these things off of these lists.
I agree.
I have deleted everything I know to delete, but revisionist history exists there somewhere. I don't know why I opened it up to see, is he still making these? I don't know. Jeff, I want you to hear the drum roll begin here. What I saw is that he was pimping, we might say on the street. He was hyping a audiobook that he has just released. And I thought, that sounds like that might tickle my tummy. Now, before I tell you what this thing is, let me just criticize Malcolm Gladwell for a second and the way that he talks.
Hands up if you've met him before.
Oh, you know what? He is a good friend of mine. And here's a photo of our meeting. Here's some footage. Now, he's a good old friend of mine. However, I appreciate that he's passionate about everything that he says. That's part of his allure. And yet, what he does is he regularly speaks as if he has discovered the true meaning behind X subject. Mm-hmm. It must mean this. I have come to this conclusion. It must mean this. Now it's as obvious as the nose on your face. And you're thinking, maybe that's one way of looking at it. But no, there is a kind of, back to the Jordan, it might be arrogance, but it's this, I don't know, it's this nerdy overconfidence that this is the way of looking at this thing.
May I? Brian Williams didn't lie. He just forgot.
Perfect. He just forgot. Yeah, there you go. I think that Brian Williams lied.
Probably lied.
Okay.
Or to your point, there's a possibility he lied. That's a possibility. Coming to the conclusion that Brian Williams just forgot what happened.
Yeah. Wow. Here was the book, Jeff. It's an audio book about the life and work of Paul Simon. It's called Miracle and Wonder.
Great title.
It's just over 5 hours long. I started it a week and a half ago. I'm almost through my second listening of it. Because there are so many wonderful morsels in this thing. He went and spent, I think, maybe 4 or 5 days, him and an old friend of his who's an audio/music guy. And the three of them sat, and Paul Simon was more than happy to speak at length about everything.
So this isn't like he's reading off a script that he's written. This is a long form interview, a super long form interview.
Yes. And of course, he's been given the rights to all of the songs. So he'll play a clip of a song, play a clip of Sound of Silence. And then Paul will talk about that first verse. Here's where that came from. Here's why. I remember, he tells the wonderful story of, I remember where I was when I was looking through, it wasn't Billboard. He finds where the Sound of Silence is. He's in another country, and he finds it, and he finds a magazine that will tell him and it was number something with a bullet. And he said, I remember standing there on the corner and thinking, my life has changed.
That was the moment.
Oh, I just love that kind of thing. He gives insights like Bridge Over Troubled Waters. Why did he modulate on the third verse. Why did he go to a different key? You know why? Never knew this. Because Paul Simon he was working this experiment. Could I fit all 12 semitones in the octave into one song? And so he had to modulate to hit all 12 of them.
Oh my word.
He talks about his interest in rhythms, and that when he was doing Mother and Child Reunion, he realized I can't get New York musicians to try to do a reggae thing. So he realized I've got to go to Jamaica and find actual reggae players to play on Mother Child Reunion. He said, well, that came into play in 1985 when I heard some music that totally fascinated me. And then he went on to make Graceland, and realizing I've got to do that with all local players, etc. It's just fantastic. He intersperses, I'd say, maybe 5 different kind of experts / famous people to give their thoughts on a song, or this is specifically a song. There's a great one where I'm sorry, I don't know this guy's name, but he's like a gospel writer producer who talks about Aretha's version of Bridge Over Troubled Waters and the significance of that. And it's great. The first person that they go to for the little review is a man named Sting. And he talks about a Paul Simon song that is it called Looking for America?
Oh, you this is always a favorite of yours.
Yes,
I don't know. It's hard. I remember at the time I couldn't find it because you would sing it on road trips when we'd be on a road trip.
Setting out to find America. Now, hold on a second, Jeff, because something's happening right now. I don't know if you feel it right now, but we've done another crossover where we can actually cross the streams back into jingles right now. Because
I know where you're going. I was going to mention it.
A Kodak jingle, setting out to find America. Going to take my own sweet time to find America. And it's Kodak. If you look through a Kodak, they can show you America. Anyways.
I conflated those two. I can't think of Mother and Child Reunion without always thinking, if I'm ever making some food or there's some sort of breakfast thing that combines like chicken and like a scrambled egg, I will always say Mother and Child Reunion. Every time.
That's terrific. Anyways, I love the audiobook. I
can't wait.
I absolutely love it. And I started in, first 5-10 minutes, you think, well, who knows? What's he going to do with this? I don't know. Let me contrast that to Jackie McMullen is a writer that I think is great. And she's a sports writer, and she's covered the NBA forever. And Bill Simmons has conscripted her on his Book of Basketball channel to do a series called The Icons Club. And it's the history of the NBA, just picking out the most important people. And it tracks the NBA superstar and how they've changed over the years. So what did Michael Jordan learn from Dr. J, and how did he build upon what Dr. J did so that he's unlike Dr. J, etc. It's great. However, she shoehorns her social justice-y agenda in unbelievable ways. Now, I'm an Oscar Robertson fan, and I've read his biography, and I know that guys like him and Bill Russell endured all sorts of terrible stuff. But when Isaiah Thomas tells you the reason that the Pistons weren't liked was because of some racial thing.
And Bill Lambert's slowly putting his hand up.
Anyway, you won't find that. You won't find any of Gladwell's leanings in this wonderful book. So,
okay, well, this brings up a question that I've had lately.
Yeah.
Now, maybe the listeners know this, maybe they don't, but you're a musician, and I would say a professional musician.
Thank you. I have been paid.
You have been paid to do what you love to do. Okay, so I'm going to listen to this book because I like Paul Simon. I like creative people. I don't know what kind of impact it's going to have on me and my work. But sometimes I'll read something about a writer, and sometimes I think, is this having some sort of influence on me? What's this going to do for you?
Let me tell you what it's going to do for you. He really approaches Paul Simon from many angles. It's very interesting. I'd say 2/3 of the way through the book, he analyzes artists, and he gets on some university professor kind of guy to talk about somebody who most rock musicians have about a 3-year window where they explode, and then if they're big enough hits, then they can just borrow against that equity for the rest of their lives. Contrast that to Picasso, who he was putting the steps together for 30 years, and then he explodes in his 70s because he has discovered something. And he talks about experimentalists versus perfectionists. And I tell you that you will approach creativity differently from hearing those descriptions. And he tells a wonderful story of Paul Simon before Graceland happened, doing something like Graceland, going to explore a sound, sitting with musicians from another country, and let's see what comes of it. And guess what comes of it? Nothing.
Bupkis.
And he goes, it was a total nothing. And Malcolm Gladwell says he was undeterred. One more thing I want to say about Gladwell is his pronunciation of the word years.
Years. This is a man who's been doing it for 50 years. It wasn't until 30 years later.
Yours? What do you mean yours? Yours. It sounds like the beginning of Jurgen. What'll it do for me? I think, honestly, I was thinking about stuff I'm working on right now and thinking, I think I'm probably a little bit too pat about all of it. You're like, well, maybe we could put a harmonica on it. And then somebody plays harmonica. That sounds good. All right. What else should we have on it? And just moving on, where what you find is that he and Roy Haley, they were nonstop looking for sounds. Interesting, unusual sounds. So they wanted to do, what's the song? La-da-die. Is that the Boxer? La-da-die, la-da-die, la-da-die. You know that song?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. So he had this idea, what if we have an explosive snare sound on that song? And they're thinking, yeah, what could we do? What Roy does is has a snare drummer. They take an elevator shaft, move the elevator up out of the way, 10 floors up. They have a drummer play a snare in an elevator shaft and record it 3 floors up.
Oh, my word.
So they hear, and that's what's on the record. La-da-die.
Oh, my word.
So you hear the Boxer and it sounds very simple to me. They're like, no, that has thousands of tracks on it. You have no idea how complicated that song was. Okay, no, I don't. Anyways, it just made me feel like there can be more experimentation. There can be more exploration to get something that's unique or unusual. Because usually I think, well, the song stands on its own. Either it's a good song or a bad song. But I'm re-listening to, of course, all I'm listening to right now is Paul Simon. I'm listening to these things in a new way and thinking, if it's just a guy on a guitar or a piano playing so many of these songs, I mean, if I played Graceland for you on acoustic guitar, you go like, well, I'm not buying that song. Thanks so much. But the way that they've done it is just amazing. So there you go.
Miracle and wonder. We're going to talk about traffic. But by the way, at this point, there would have been an ad right before this? Was that usually where the ad goes?
Okay, well-paying ad, yep.
Oh, good. Brought to you by Band Roll-On.
Yeah, that's it.
There you go.
Band Roll-On or Bandlon socks, either one.
Brought to you by Band Roll-On, maker of Band Roll-On and Band Roll-On socks. They make your ankles smell great.
Keith Jackson. That's Keith Jackson, everybody.
Keith Jackson, everybody. ABC. College football Saturday.
He was well used in Gatorade ads and should have been used for more ads.
Steven knows this, but I often drive around town doing errands, talking to myself in Keith Jackson's voice. Next up, we're going to Safeway. After that, headed to the post office. Brought to you by Dr. Pepper and your local Dr. Pepper bottler.
Trying to take a right-hand turn from the left lane.
Here we go. All right, now you're touching on it.
Okay.
So, hopefully, I can describe this for those people who are sadly just listening to us and not watching the exciting visuals that are going on.
Well, you're missing out if you're doing that.
You're missing out. You only get half the show.
That's
really.
half the show.
You're missing Steven's funny hats.
Yeah.
You're missing the makeup I have on.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. Now don't cut me off here because you're gonna jump to a conclusion. That's not the point. I'm coming out of my subdivision, and out of my subdivision is a fairly busy 4-lane road.
Yeah.
I'm taking a left onto that road, and there's a light, but it's an unprotected left. There are people across the intersection, rarely coming straight across.
I got it. This is the same scenario as my parents' house.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Those people across the way are taking a right. Now, the laws are clear. As I take a left, I don't have the right of way. I need to submit.
We know that.
I'm not arguing. I should have the right of way. I believe in the rules of the road.
Good for you.
Here's the problem, and I've seen this at other intersections. It's that, what do you do when people don't know the rules of the road? So that guy across is looking at me like, come on, dude. And okay, so not only that, but when I take a left, I'm probably taking a wide left because I'm eventually going to take a right. He's more than likely coming across and taking a wide right. Mm-hmm. So there's a problem. We can't both go, I'll take a tight left, and he'll say, I'll take a tight right because that's where we're headed. No, we want to cross streams.
Yes.
The rules are clear. That's not the problem. The problem is most people don't know the rules. And so I got into a honk. I'll say it that way. I got into a honk with a woman because she was coming when no, this is my time. And she gives me this. I'm going to save that just for the video. And of course, what do you do back to that? You double it. That's called the FOSS.
With emphasis.
Yeah, with emphasis. Like you're quoting her back to her.
Yeah, I know what this sign is. More.
You think you're the one who's, and so we get into one of those.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying? It's the time when there's rules, but nobody knows the rules, and so what do you do there?
Totally.
I don't like it.
Totally. There's so many.
Needs a sign.
Yeah, we need signs that remind people of the laws. Once you leave driving school, there's nothing that will ever remind you what the rules are supposed to be. And so if you happen to be driving around our nation's highways and byways, knowing the rules inside of you, it's almost a disadvantage. I agree. Because you have expectations of other people. For instance, when you come to a median, there is a berm between the split lanes. Did you know that if you're turning left or going to, God forbid, try a U-turn, you're supposed to go to the top of the median. We're supposed to actually pass one another, top of the median, so that most people don't know this. So you're going to the top of the median. Somebody else is turning in, coming toward you, and they're going to take their first possible left, and here we're going to meet. And you're kind of going like, this isn't how you do it. If everyone did what you do, we'd be in a mess. If everyone did what I did, everything would go very, very smoothly. But you're really not able to have really that kind of a conversation. No, you're limited to the walls of the cars. Don't you think if we each read the driver's handbook, we would have at least 5 things we'd go, well, I'll be darned. Oh, I did not know. Sorry, everyone. Been doing that wrong. Yes. Here's another one. You're not allowed to enter an intersection unless you can clear the intersection. Sure. Yeah. Nobody does that. So the people who are going across, when there's a big stack up of traffic and they stack up right in front of me so that when I get the green light, I cannot proceed forward. That's a violation of the law. But there's never a cop there when you need them to be there, are they?
This is all, it's so funny. We're bringing these things up, but they remind me of stories. You and I and a group of other ne'er-do-wells were driving from Cincinnati to Cleveland to get to the police reunion concert. And I can't remember if we were leaving Cincinnati or in Cleveland, but it was rush hour downtown. And a guy did what you were talking about, and he was then left in the middle of the intersection, and we couldn't go. And I remember you opened your door, got out, and went, "You can't do that." And then got back in.
All right. My sympathies are with you. We're driving around with ignorant drivers. I understand.
And I'm sure I'm ignorant of some of these things too. I'm willing to fess up here.
All right. But you know what I like? I like sitting in a waiting room and reading some magazines.
Could this waiting room of sorts be 30,000 feet in the sky?
Yeah, could be.
Okay.
Sure. If an airplane is a very long waiting room experience. Okay, so if you're in a waiting room,
which it looks like you are now. I love to picture you're actually at the dentist and you brought a microphone. You're like, well, I got time to kill.
Yeah.
Might as well do a pod.
I might as well. Just today, I went to the dentist this morning and I got to sit in a waiting room for a few minutes. You know what I did? I went over to their bookshelf. You know what they had in there? Some wonderful histories of Cincinnati. Here's beautiful photographs of the city of Cincinnati. Here's a little Pete Rose retrospective. Okay, I'm great. Let's redeem this time. Let's do it. Well, if you're in a waiting room with now we've all been in those hellholes that just have 4-year-old highlights magazine and them in parenting magazine. We've been there. We got it. Mm-hmm. But if there is a high quality waiting room that maybe has an outside magazine, something that I would never ever subscribe to ever again, although I was devoted in my teens, Sports Illustrated. Never going to have that again. But they might have a recent Sports Illustrated, and among all of the bull crap in there, maybe there's 5 pages about an athlete that I'm curious about. I'd love to read that thing. And when else am I going to do that? I'm not going to do that before bed. I've got books to read. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do that when I'm driving around. I've got audiobooks to listen to. I've got stuff I've got to do, but not in a waiting room. I've got a little time in that waiting room, and I can enjoy a magazine.
I'm with you. My daughter and I was taking her to an orthodontist, and I think it was the only time I took her there. And I went, hey, let's go look at the magazine. She's like, what? So it was like Time magazine was like 20 great gadgets of the last year. Let's look through these. It's like flying roller skates. And she's like, what? And I think she was genuinely stunned about even the paper quality. Nobody sees this paper quality.
What are you looking at right now?
Now, the problem is when you go to the rack and what do you got? Us Weekly, People.
This would tell me I'm never to visit this doctor or dentist.
That's right, true. That's true. I'd rather the Highlights magazine. Tell me, I'd rather get the scoop on Goofus and Gallant than Will and Jada.
That's right. Yeah. Amen to that.
But I think about it often. It's a show on
hair
Netflix.
Loss? Is it about hair loss?
Oh, I think about that all the time. Matter of fact, I was speaking at a thing the other day and I made a joke about my hair, and someone afterwards went, "You really are losing your hair, aren't you?"
I think that's the opposite effect you're hoping to have.
Yeah, you want no.
Oh, come on, you're oversensitive. You look great.
That's right. Oh, if I just keep more, there's a lot of real estate up there.
So, having gone through Paul Simon again, I own the DVD, which is like the making of the Graceland album. So, of course, I've gone back and rewatched that. I'd say since he was maybe 17, Paul has been working on that hair.
Yeah.
And when he was a young man, there's a couple of wonderful Dick Cavett appearances that are talked about. So I went back and watched those on YouTube. It's the full-fledged comb from the back of the hair up to the bangs. He had that going in his 20s, and Friends, now that he's in his 80s.
Do you think that Simon and Garfunkel were ever together and like hanging out, and they turned on a television, and for some reason PBS was on, and it was Sesame Street and Bert and Ernie, and they looked at each other and went, "That's us."
Oh yeah, that's us. Or you remember that toy? This is a very 70s toy, but you had the magnetic filings that you could put on the guy's face and make whatever hair you wanted.
I just pulled that up the other day to show my wife, Mr. Woolley, because there was a guy we had seen who was bald but beard, and I said, "That's what you do with Mr. Woolley."
See, Mr. Woolley, he had this deal where there's total hair up on top, tons of hair, and then others where the hair is on the bottom. I'm thinking that's Simon and Garfunkel.
So my show is Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee.
Oh.
It's the Seinfeld show on the Netflix show thing.
Now, do you know anybody who ever made an appearance on that show?
Well, I didn't want to. Oh, hang on.
Okay.
And I've said this before, but I'll say it. It bears repeating. I have never seen a show that more accurately describes, I'll generalize and say male friendships, but I would say more particularly my male friendships. This is what guys do. Is they sit around and they try to figure out ways to make the other guy laugh. Now, I know there's depth to male friendship. Yeah, sure, I get it. But the idea that two guys sitting across from each other, you're just trying to push their buttons and get them to laugh, is delightful to me. And there's a moment in probably I haven't gone back through to see it.
That reminds me of one of my favorite shows, Two Up, Two Down.
Oh, sure. Yeah, one of my favorites. There's usually a moment where Jerry and the guy are walking along to a coffee shop, away from the coffee shop to go somewhere. And they're walking side by side. And the guest says something that so makes Jerry laugh. Jerry's walking with a sport coat on, hands in jeans pockets. And it goes like this. Again, you got to see the visual, but they're walking. Guy makes a joke. He keeps laughing. Jerry just stops and looks down. That moment fills me with such joy. Because that's what I love is when I'm with a buddy and I have got to stop walking and laugh at this thing that's great. Just said. And yes, years ago, my wife and I were in New York. What part of town were we in? Upper West Park, East North Side. That's where we were.
Cute side.
Sure. And John Stamos walked by, and I'm not kidding. He was talking to himself, and he didn't have earbuds in. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say he was trying to memorize lines. We literally go a block, take a left. There's Jerry Seinfeld with a crew, and they're shooting an episode of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. He's interviewing, is it Sebastian Maniscalco?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Kristen, my wife, she's like, she'll do anything. We just walk back and forth behind them. They're sitting on scooters eating gelato parked. We just walk back and forth behind them. And so you can pull up the episode and there's these two knuckleheads walking back and forth behind him. Ended up talking to the producer for a little while and getting a little, this is how we make the show. And I'm like, all these people are crowded around and Jerry's cool and having this quiet conversation with this guy and seemingly engaged and laughing. She's like, he's a pro.
Speaking of things that there should be classes for, but when people get it wrong, there's no repercussions for it. If somebody doesn't know how to open up a cereal box and through their selfish short-sightedness, they have subjected others to up to a month of frustration, they deserve a hard wrist wrapping with a good wooden ruler.
Mm.
Now, there's two ways to screw up the opening of a box of cereal. One is, you might have noticed this over the years. There's a bit of a tab on the end of the flap. Mm-hmm. There's traditionally two places where glue is applied to keep it together. It would be on the sides of the top. You see. If you merely stick your hand under the flap and rip open.
Oh, you got, yeah.
You will tear it open and you'll have that's like the jaw of, remember when King Kong fought the T-Rex and he had the floppy jaw before he tossed him aside? That's what
General Mills calls this the flaccid flap.
What you have to do is you have to gingerly work it open. You're creating a container that will be used long term. You have to gingerly work through the glue on the sides. Then you have to carefully separate the tab entry spot, because that's you can't be overzealous about that either. You have to be careful.
If that goes, the whole system is broken.
It's all broke. It's a project. We're trying to do it together. It's a teamwork. And
you're appreciating the gift they've given you. We've given you a box that's reusable.
It's not just food inside here. There's a container. There's a delivery system of the food, and you have to work with us or all is lost.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to separate the little opening for the tab so it'll re-enter. Then you have to pull a bag up out of that box.
Don't reach in. It's got to come up out.
It's got to come out of it. And then you have to, maybe I'd say a third of the way of the width. You want to open that about a third of the way. And then you can tuck it back down, and now you're ready to consume.
Yeah.
What you can't do is take the top and tear it sideways, creating a rift that goes down into the cereal portion. That is an utter disaster.
That's a hilarious pour after that.
Or you can't rip it open like a bag of chips, and you might have. Here's my favorite: is when you have this kind of tear that goes down, as well as the top part. It didn't open all the way; it stopped somewhere. So now there is a corner that if I try to pour, it will catch all of the cereal. Yeah, and it'll go over it. That's right. Maybe this is a seminar I should have in my own home.
I think it's a masterclass. Package opening.
Yep. I could do it for a discount. This would be a pretty good series, is if somebody did very low level practical how to put bread away, how to load a dishwasher, how we use the toothpaste or the long, do you keep butter in one of those long things, a little hat house on it? So there's
but I've seen pictures.
Okay, this is the traditional American human way of using butter, and then we chop our way down the stick. Some people don't understand this. Yeah, it's insane what some people do. Yeah, you've seen a scooping sweep off of it. Anyways, there it is.
Well,
the poorly opened cereal box.
The master class should be called Welcome to Earth. Just going to walk you through the basics. Yeah, I just watched this happen with my daughter the other day with a box of granola. It was like, Hulk want rice checks.
Sure. There's an explosion, but as long as there's 8 of them in the bowl, she's happy.
That's fine. Well, okay, so this brings me up to a small little detail that drives me bananas. And I found myself correcting my daughter the other day rather curtly, and I thought if anyone just heard this, they would have gone, he's crazy.
Turn it down a little bit there, tough guy.
But here's what I said, I've told you not to do this, baby. Here. God bless her. I was sneezing. Okay. So she went over and got a box of Kleenex for me, the long box of Kleenex.
All right.
Comes over, you want a Kleenex? Yes, sweet girl, thank you. I took a Kleenex. She goes to carry it back. This is a no-no on Earth. The cellophane top with the gentle slit in the middle.
Okay.
That the Kleenex comes out of, that's not for carrying. You start to carry it on there, that thing gets loose, the Kleenex retreats. And then from then on, you're digging down into the box to get the tissue out. I can't abide it. You lie to me to my face all day. You can steal food. You can take the credit cards. Don't monkey with the plastic on the top.
No, for someone for whom Kleenex is a regular part of your life.
Sure.
I feel that I feel that by telling this tale and bringing this up, I gave you a free one down.
I agree. I piggybacked on it.
But that was excellent what you did there. I
should
recommend
have saved
finding more of anything that annoys you and makes you lose it with the kids when you shouldn't be. That is worthy. That's worthy.
But can you imagine somebody watching and going, "Geez, dude,
Daddy
brought the
told you
box
not to hold the Kleenex box that way."
We've talked about this. I had the seminar, the presentation. I showed you the TED Talk.
The Kleenex box.
Well, with that, real quick.
By contrast, my family would have trouble locating the Kleenex box. It's somewhere in the house.
They're around here. We got a lot. And one kid likes it. She's a 5 to 1. What should take one takes 5. They're one-sided to her. Okay, wait. On this. Maybe I should save this, but I'm not. But we're talking about paper products.
We are.
You go somewhere, the bathroom, the restaurant with the self-serve napkins, and they're like, "Hey, dude, I got to go fill up the napkin thing. I got to fill up the paper towel thing.
Sure.
So I'm going to cram it so full, either A, you've got to have the strength of Thor to pull it out, or B, you're not getting out of there without 20 of them." And everybody looks at you like, "Oh, you need 20 napkins?" Oh. No, because Jimmy back there decided he wanted to do this one time today. Yes. So they all came out.
Yes. Let's just ask, what do you do when you've got when the machine has given you too many paper towels? What do you do?
I either screw them, throw them all away, or take them and then I guess stack them back on the top and then write a little note to Jimmy. Next time, maybe don't be so lazy. Because this is what Jimmy doesn't understand. He's going to have to do more work because the thing's going to get empty faster. This is counterintuitive to Jimmy's little mind.
Jimmy. It's called shift labor. You know, you're going to get paid just for being there. So when you care what the tasks are, do this task right. Now, one thing that I've been known to do if I get too many, I'll use them. Why don't we just wipe off the counter? We know there's water everywhere. Everyone's left bits of paper towel. I'll do a little free labor. I make the place look chef's kiss when I walk away. That's what I want.
You're a better man than I, Gunga Din, because then I'm just reaffirming Jimmy's behavior because Jimmy was the one who's supposed to wipe the counter.
No. Well, that's true too. But I will leave the mini stack on top of the box as well, going like someone's made an error.
I don't like the idea of Jimmy walking out, cracking his knuckles, snapping his suspenders, going, "Did that job."
Swinging his keys on the end of his chain. Yep.
Yeah. Next stop, manager.
That's it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your time.
Move on.
2 old friends. 2 opinionated blowhards who make the other laugh. 2 delights. 2 consternations. 2 up. 2 down.